So there's a lot. There's a discussion in the chat about you know whether you can appropriate the spoils of war as a means to like filling up a museum, right? I think it's an interesting discussion because um, well, it is true that sometimes you can argue that back then there were no regulations and no rules, and therefore it's not really stealing of any kind. You do need to understand that those wars that you're defending were horrendous crimes, right? And even if under the rules of the time, you would have said, "Oh, but everyone does this. Everyone just genocides a few, you know, African tribes, right? Anyone would go into the kingdom of Benin and massacre the people that are there, and then of course you get to keep the spoils." I'm not sure that's the hill I would like to die on. Um, but even then, even if that's your argument, um, you are still appropriating those goods from the perspective of a foreign law in someone else's land. So I am sure that there was a law in Benin back then that said you cannot take the Benin bronzes from the city of Benin, and yet you come in and you say, well, my law says that I can. And that is a case of like legal pluralism. There's several laws being applied there, and yet you are disregarding the non-Western law for arbitrary reasons and saying, no, but I can because it looks pretty. Right? So I'm not even sure if that's a very good argument, to be honest. Um, so yeah, I do think that materials that were taken forcefully from other parts of the world should be repatriated for the very simple reason that they belong there. They're from that place. Um, I feel very strongly about this because I've been involved in cases for the repatriation of archaeological materials, and the arguments that people give, that states give to not repatriate, or museums give to not repatriate, are very insulting. In one case, one one museum argued that, well, we took something from Peru with a promise to return them within 2 years, and then we didn't because there was a war. There was a World War One, and then when you asked again, we didn't again because it was World War Two, and then at some point you stopped asking, and so since you stopped asking, now you cannot demand us to return the archaeological artifacts because too long has elapsed, too much time has elapsed. Um, so through adverse possession, they are ours now. I just find that mind blowing. Oh, JX Rying. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. It's your first time chatting, so welcome to the community. Yes, museums do also argue that they can take better care of it, which is actually not true. I I know of cases where some archaeological materials were stored in boxes, and when they were returned in the same newspaper that they were kept in. So those archaeological materials were wrapped up in newspapers from like the 1910s, 1920s, and when they return it to the country, they open it, and the same newspapers are there. So like they were never actually even opened. There's been cases of damage as well to like objects that were in possession of Western museums. Um, I don't think that's necessarily true, but even if it were, uh, it is still not theirs. Like the idea that we can exhibit them here for the world to see is ironic coming from museums in parts of the world where getting a visa is impossible. So no one can go see them really. Yeah, Magic Carl says most of the things they stole are stuck in a basement gathering dust. Many are, yes. I know, for example, that the British Museum has a big collection in Peru that they dusted off to make a exhibition on Peru. And when the exhibition was done, they repackaged it, put it back in the storage, and if a scholar needs it, they will go there and research it. But otherwise, they're just in boxes. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like content like this and you would like to see more, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can also come to one of my live streams or join my Discord server. It's really great that you're here because we're really trying to grow this community and turn it into a space where we can all come together to discuss about international law and international relations. So really thank you for your support. Until next time.